Last time on Mishaco, the top 10 firearms I let go of to kind of make the cabin happen. Why I pick them, how I pick them, and also maybe some I thought about selling but just couldn't bring myself to. The truth is, number one is yet to be determined, because while I hope I won't have to move anything further, I still have to pay the well guy. Yes, he finally came out. Anyone who's been following my cabin project progress videos on the personal Misha channel knows that it was a bit of a thing getting the well guy out. I'm preparing myself to sell something to kind of cover that bill as well. And it won't be the Valmet. No, that's staying. But there are some short-listed guns. Misha here, and this is part 2, kind of selecting the number 1 pick where we left off. Now, I did do a full-length and extended version over on Patreon a couple of weeks ago for the Patreon contributors, but I thought I would do a more condensed YouTube-friendly version as a part 2 here. And I would give an update that the well guy did hit water, and it was more than sufficient, so good news there. Bad news is I do have a new bill to pay. So, something is going to have to go. What will the number 1 pick be? Let's see how I like it now. Again, not a regular AK. It takes a bit to get used to. For a bit now, I have considered seriously the Galil Ace Generation 1. This is the carbine, trimmed for 7.62 by 39, and I actually acquired this a couple years back, used in really good shape from a friend. And since that time, the reason I've kind of thought about it, a lot of folks have asked me if I have a Gen 1 that I'd be willing to sell. And, well, maybe. But I really would prefer not to if I can help it. They don't make the Gen 1 anymore, and it's not just the sights and the handguard, but the style of lightning cut for the bolt carrier and receiver. They just don't do it anymore. On the other hand, I do like my Gen 1 5.56 Rock and Lock, and it would be the one I would keep for sure, the short little pistol, if I only could keep one. But they're very different guns, and the issue with the Rock and Lock version, while it is technically a Gen 1, it has the newer style lightning cuts on the carrier and receiver. I know this is small stuff, but hey, what can you do? But no, it's a good, reliable gun, and it would be one that if I sold it, well, I'm sure I could get another Gen 1 down the road. I would never be able to get back into it for anything like what I've got in it. So, if needs must, and if the right offer were to come along, this could go. And the ace one more time. Moving on, we haven't seen a lot of pistols for various reasons, but I did consider selling one of my 2 Swiss Sig P210, the P49. I've got an early wood grip version with kind of early features, and then I have a more standard version, Bakelite grips, later features, and the more matte blue to finish. And I do like having early and lates of guns. Anyone who knows me kind of knows this is just my thing. The issue would be which one. P49. It's smooth, I'll give it that. It's the L35 question all over again. This one is just a great standard Swiss military gun. Bakelite grips, the matte finish. Love the triggers on these. So it has that going for it. But damn if this original version here, the -1, just isn't nice. I mean, the bluing, the marks, the checkered release. It's just so nice. And to be fair, the military did use these briefly as well. But this kind of shows just how nice this Swiss gun could be. And this one just shows the standard. So I'd really have a tough time. I really, really would. I would probably, very reluctantly, list this one. But I don't want to. These just feel like very good long-term retirement investment guns. And you know me in Switzerland. But it is one that I considered, and if there's an emergency and things had to be paid, I'd probably have to take several shots of vodka and then just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm curious though, which would you pick? P49. That's a nice shooter. Moving back to Kalashnikovs, because I really should thin the herd. Here are two very different ones that I did consider, and to some extent would still consider if things went right. Start down here with the Polish. This is an early-ish kit build. When these kits were coming in from Arms of America with the headspace barrels, this was not the nicest kit. I don't usually keep the nicest ones for myself, but it was in 1968. It still had the blued with the polished carrier, hardwood muzzle nut. It's not on a special receiver. It's just a Morrissey receiver banged together in a garage. I always meant to kind of put it on maybe one of those WBP receivers or a nice shoulders or something, or I could just sell it. And what got me thinking about this is when the parts kits were kind of at a boom back in May and June. It seems like the kits have kind of died down, so not as attractive to sell unless the kit kind of goes up again, because I really do like it. And it does fill a niche in my collection for an early Polish AKM. But on the other hand, I do have my WBP, and I do have a later Polish underfolder, so yeah, I just have a thing for Polish guns. But if the right thing came along, but then again, I wouldn't have a hardwood AKM type gun left, or I could just take it off the receiver and sell it as a kit, because it does have the Polish barrel. I don't know, it crossed my mind, but I kind of like it. All these cool kits. SA RPK. Look at how little these stickles. Moving from an old beat up kit gun, we come to a modern production gun, and one that I've tried to sell for like 5 years. The last time Arsenal did a run of SA RPKs, this is the RPK 5 and 5.56. No, they haven't done RPK 7s in a very long time. Yes, they did a handful of RPK 3s and 5.45. Anyway, milled receiver. It's not really an RPK, it's their own thing. This barrel is actually in some ways closer to an RPD. It's more of a PKM bipod. Doesn't matter. Cool gun. I put polymer furniture on it. Now, I picked this up years ago just to have something for a video, thinking I'll sell it. I never have, because it's quite nice looking, but it's also a lot of fun to shoot. And I don't have many of the US assembled arsenals left. I think this might be my only one now that has the Vegas receiver. I may be misremembering. But it's always one of those that, oh yeah, I could sell it. And then when it comes to it, I pick it up. I just can't bring myself to do it. Still, if needs must, and since these haven't been made in a while, I maybe would do it, but this is me saying now. During the COVID times, I did sell my Legion side folding RPK, so I've already down. It's just hard for me to turn loose of RPKs, and I already did let the Valmet go, but it's a possibility. Well, my expression of early and late comes back with the Japanese Arisaka Type 44 carbine. What a neat little gun. And they only made about 91,000. And I had these because I helped a gentleman sell off his collection, and he had a thing for them, so he had over a dozen. Looking at the rear, you may not see a ton of differences. But look at the safety. You notice this one is notched, this one's out. Different markings. Different kind of cut to the stock. But the bayonet housing is really where the difference is. This is the original so-called Type 1, and this is the last style Type 3. They made far fewer Type 3s than Type 1s, but they made far fewer Type 2s than Type 3s. And the difference is they just made this a stronger housing, wrapping it around. And I picked these up because I was helping him sell, and hey, so I considered moving one of them. The Type 44 has always been weird on the market. Its value goes up and down with regularity. And I think part of it is just knowledge. If people know to look for them or not. Everyone knows the 99. Most know the 38. But the 44 is getting a little bit into more of the niche territory. Although with the internet and everything, it's, more known than it used to be. Question is, which one? Type 1, Type 2. And of course, condition also plays a part. They are actually kind of fun to shoot. The bayonet adds quite a bit of weight out front. And the reason that they went to this thicker housing was stress, and you can actually see it on this one. There is a hairline crack right here that's on this one. Not a big deal. I considered fixing it, clamping it, but these screws are often staked, and you'd have to unstake them. I haven't checked to see if these are, but assuming they are, I'd have to unstake it to get it out of the stock, and I just didn't know if that was worth it. I might just try to gently do something. It's not a big deal. This is old wood, and Japanese woods just kind of do that over time. You either see separation or whatnot, unevenness back here on a lot of them. It's not a problem at all. This one, of course, is a newer construction. Well, newer, relatively speaking. This one dates back quite a bit more. It has a nice smoother stock. And the trapdoors are actually different too. One hole versus two. I don't know. I can tell you, having done this for a while now, trying to pick what I can sell, I have a very hard time turning loose of Japanese guns. It's very hard for me because I've put a lot of time and effort and research into my collection, and I like being able to show people this is an early, this is a late. I do the same with, I've got an early and a late Type 38 rifle. A few other things. But I think if I had to pick, I would probably keep the Type, the series, the Variation 3, and sell the 1. But I don't know. I believe they both have mums. And they both have top covers, and I believe both do match the gun as well. But I did consider it, since I do have two. But just, again, I hate to sacrifice my Japanese collection. Oh well. Alrighty guys, we're nearing the end. And this is a very similar situation to the Type 44s. I have two so-called jungle carbines, Lee Enfield number 5 Mark 1s. Don't read anything into the fact this one doesn't have a sling on it. The sling rule pretty much applies for semi-automatic guns, not bolt actions. In fact, this had a sling on it till recently when I took it off for a purpose. Yeah, I did sell a spare Mark III I had. It was actually a 1930s Ishapur, pretty cool. I just acquired it a few years ago because it was a nice gun, matching, and it's moved along. That's the only Enfield I've sold. I really do like them. They're kind of like my Arisakas, very hard to turn loose of. And the jungle is just a cool old gun. And each of these has something to recommend it. Up top we have a wartime, and down here we have a post-war. They're each from different makers. If you notice, the lightning cut and the bolt is a little different. There are some other small differences in them, with probably the most obvious being the end cap. This has the original, this ends with wood style, and this has the later metal cap style. Both are in pretty respectable condition, all things considered. Although, quite obviously, the post-war one would be expected to be a little bit nicer. So, why do I have both, and why is it such a hard decision to sell? Well, like I said, they each represent different manufacturers and different eras in production. I'm going to be honest, I like the look of the post-war better. I like its lightning cut on the bolt handle better, and I've always thought these metal end caps on the stock just look good versus these. So just based on looks, I like this one. But who would keep a post-war jungle selling a wartime one? Yeah, no, exactly. And I don't hate this one either. It's a nice gun. And they're not making these anymore. I remember when the jungles were coming in. This doesn't seem likely. I don't think this will be one I sell unless, again, we get to the point we just need to. But it is kind of funny to me that I can sell some of the stuff you've seen and not have a lot of worry over it, but then you show two guns that most people would think look identical, and I just can't make myself decide, and I like having both. But again, it's that early and late thing. But it is a possibility. I mean, but I don't know which one I would keep. I really, really don't, if I just could keep one. Which one would you like more yourself? That's why I'm doing this again. I'm sharing with you my thought process. I've tried to share the journey of building the cabin and just in general, and sacrifices made and why I make them, and also just share with you how I collect, my values, what I really look for and what doesn't bother me as much. It's not saying my way is right, your way is wrong. No, we're just comparing different ways of life. I know a lot of folks aren't even interested in old guns, but I always have been. It's kind of my main thing. But I just wanted to mention infields because they were very important to me. From the beginning, there were two guns I knew I could sell for very respectable money and get a lot of the cabin stuff paid for. But I really, really, really do not want to. And no, they're not Carcanos. These are on the table because of a Patreon section. Yeah, I've put up an extended version, as I said at the beginning, over on Patreon. So if you're interested, check that out. But no, there are two. So let's just talk about them. I don't have many guns that I bought specifically as an investment, but this is one of them. A Portuguese AR-10. At least everything with the lower, of course. This was a decent chunk of change back when, and I'm sure these go for pretty good money now. It really goes with my AR collection. I love the early Armalite. Heck, I've even shot it. Armalite AR-10 first shots. Held open.
I was getting pelted in the knuckle the entire time. No matter where I moved.
You said knuckle,
Knuckle.
Right?
Yes, I said knuckle.
Okay, just making sure.
And nipple.
Once. The truth is, if anything were to break, especially the furniture, I do have a spare pistol grip, but otherwise replacing it would be on nigh impossible. So this one's one of those that just kind of has to be retired to the collector's thing, although it comes out for quite a few videos because the old AR-10 was very influential thanks to Sam Cummings and all that in the late 50s. Still, if something really bad happened, got sick or whatever, I know this would be one I could move, and it would generate actual money. Now, luckily, when I got this, it came with quite a few mags. I kept 5 for myself, still sold like a dozen, and just the mags alone bring over $100 each. Some of them 150 or 2. But so it helps with the mags, guys. I'm not planning on selling this. It's just in the back of my mind, like emergency, it could be done. But I would never replace it if I did. And I enjoy it too much. And it's just one of those conversation pieces and another good retirement gun, if you will. Armalite AR-10, take 2. Held open.
Sweet.
But I wouldn't do it a whole lot. These were Portuguese kits. They were used hard, put up wet. They were used to launch rifle grenades. Sooner or later, something's going to fracture, and boy howdy, if like the buttstock broke, you'd be in trouble, because this does not take standard parts. Not at all. So this was my runner-up for gun I could sell, but really don't want to, that would generate money. Would anyone like to take a guess what the number 1 gun was that I knew I could put up for Hawk when I started the cabin, but really super absolutely don't want to? I'll give you a minute. Some might actually guess it. No, not that one. It's this one. K31. That's all we got. Could you have guessed it would be something Japanese? Yeah. My paratrooper. My Type 2 is cool enough and has a nice sentimental story. This one doesn't have so much a sentimental story, but it's a Type 0. The first generation split takedown gun that they trialed out. They made 24,000 or so Type 2s, and they're quite rare. No one knows how many Type 0s they made. There were 2 basic contracts, Army and Navy, but estimations are roughly 500. That's not a tiny, tiny, tiny number. How many made it to America? That's the trick. And this one seems to be matching in just as far as they go. Now, they took standard production line guns at Nagoya. That's why this doesn't have a monopod, but has a spot for it. It does have AA sights. And they grafted on this block with this very unique pin slider in the bottom to keep it together. And there's another really cool feature about this. The bolt handle on a Type 0 unscrews, for those who don't know. Tight here. And even if you find the gun, this is a commonly missing part, as you might imagine. I mean, I guess you could use a bullet, but to actually get one intact with the handle and in good shape is pretty neat. Sorry, I wanted to get the thread started. The last thing I need is to cross thread this by doing it single-handed. There are other things I can do single-handed just fine though. So yes, a very uncommon to rare gun. Almost as uncommon as the Type 1, but with the Type 1s you have to really worry about fakes. It's kind of hard to fake a Type 0, and these did see combat. The cool thing is, this was actually a local pickup. This wasn't something I found online. A friend was looking at a guy's collection across town. He had some neat old stuff. I have a few of his other guns. And he said, oh, there's a paratrooper here. You know, I cottoned on. But when he said it had a removable cocking handle, I was like, get it for me. Because he was saying he wanted too much, and I forget what the guy wanted. It was quite a bit of money, like $4,000 or something. And for a regular para, yeah, that's too much, even today. But for one of these, I don't know if there is a price. Because if someone's in the market for one, they don't have a lot of options. And I said, can you get me over there tomorrow? Now, I didn't pay that for it. I kind of did a bundle deal and got it a little cheaper. But I meant it a good chunk of change. He knew pretty well what he had. But checking with my Japanese collector friends those years ago, these have always been bringing pretty good money. Probably about as much as that AR-10 or close to it. So it's one that I knew I could move if I absolutely had to. And it's been in the back of my mind is a, well, maybe for quite a while. But I really don't want to. In my own collecting habits and hobbies, I mostly go for standard issue guns, kind of mass production guns. I don't often go for pre-production prototypes. Well, this isn't a tool room prototype. I mean, they said they made a few hundred of them. But normally, I wouldn't be looking for something like this. In fact, I never thought I'd own one. I knew what they were, but I kind of went beyond a Grail gun, a white whale, just because I never thought I'd run across one. Kind of like a Type 5. If you know what that is, great. Or sometimes they're called Type 4s. But there are some guns that are just too rare to even think about getting. And when this popped up local, where I can inspect it, and this would be a gun I would never buy sight unseen. Yes, says the blind guy. There's just too many things to go wrong with it and be hinked up. And yeah, the retaining spring for this is pretty gummy. Of course, it's got Cosmoline in it, so it could just be stumping it up. And the little ratchet for the bolt handle doesn't really work anymore, but it's not loose. So, and again, it could be Cosmoline. I'm just going to leave it that way. No way would I shoot this. Way too valuable. It's going to shoot worse than a standard 99, so yeah. But this is about as good as it gets, including having its original modified cleaning rod. Basically, it was a very, very lucky chance that I got this one. So if I had to move it, I'd never be able to replace it. So of the guns we've talked about today, this would be along the lines of the very last one I would probably put up. But at the end of the day, needs must. That's kind of the message of this whole video. If I had to sell either this or my standard Type 2, I know this seems strange considering how much more common the Type 2 is, I would keep the Type 2 because it's more of what was in World War II. That's just how my mind works. But, yeah. It's kind of why not having a Grandpa Nambu doesn't bug me. I'd love to have one, but they're essentially a pre-production model of the Papa Nambu. But yeah, this is one that's there. If it's like, you know, pay a bill or the bank's going to foreclose. Luckily, like I said, I didn't get a bank loan, but there are credit cards that need paying, and credit card interest is about as scary as that. But that's kind of my journey of using my gun collection to fund building a cabin on some inherited land. What do you think? Even as I record this video, I have not selected the gun that will go, but soon I will have to do so. So to my Patreons, greatly appreciate your support over the years. I hope the cabin ends up giving you all better videos. I will get back to live streaming, probably from out there. It's just without help doing it, and with so much going on, I really have been working as much as possible to pay things off. Everything's good, all's well. Actually working on several video projects, but they might be a little delayed. So, better just to take a chance. And maybe this video doesn't make sense. It was kind of just a last minute thing I thought might be fun. I hope it kind of shares who I am, how I collect, what I really do value and don't value in guns, maybe. I don't know. That's why we're just hanging out, talking guns, and this is what I enjoy. This is the fun. And also, don't be afraid to sell guns if you need to. Buy them if you can. Absolutely, find good deals. But don't go into credit card debt. Don't go into bank loans over guns. Usually. Unless you're buying from me. No, being serious. Everyone who's bid, bought, shared, that's great. I really appreciate everything. Everything's going either into the shooting trips we've had or paying for the range. Some of it going to the cabin. That's mostly what we've sold here that goes into the cabin. The Patreon stuff is being squirreled away for either ammo, which is really expensive right now, or the new range coming into the cabin with steel targets and whatnot. So if you'd like to help support us, yeah, check out Patreon, do what you can do. I will resume doing live streams pretty soon. Probably still on Wednesdays. I might move it to Fridays. Just kind of depends. Cabin is done. Just waiting on the well to start producing water, and then start moving in furniture. And we'll do there. We'll do a tour. I will probably be gone 3-4 weeks in August. Come back around Labor Day, and I am already working on some new video stuff. Some old guns, some new, and with the cabin range, we'll have probably more shooting footage, and have more guests come out and just having fun. But let me know what you think. Have you ever had to sell off guns before? I know a lot of folks have divorces, but like I said, I had car crash once, buying a new house, a wedding, ups and downs. But I still managed to hang on to my absolute favorites and my sentimental guns. The gifts and things, I don't even think of a gift as something I can sell. That's why my Black Widow so-called Luger was never even considered, because that was a gift from a friend. So, yeah. Alright, guys. Hope everyone has a good August. Back to school if you're doing that. Feel free to shoot me an email or message me on Patreon. I'll be around. But I'll still be working, but just need a little break on YouTube, guys. Hope you understand. With that, best wishes, and this is Misha. I'll see you very soon, in roughly a month. In the meanwhile, be sure to check out a lot of the backlog videos. I got nearly 1,500 on here, so there's one or two you haven't seen, I'm sure. Catch you then. Okay, for real this time. That's the end. No fake outs. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything.